Battling the blaze at the Riverton City landfill, firefighters and the NSWMA work to bring the situation under control. In this half hour, we'll bring you the latest on that operation and give you some useful information on how to manage the smoke to reduce the risks for persons with respiratory illnesses. Hello, I'm Andrea Chisholm and this is Jamaica Magazine. Also on the show today, budget numbers for local government. We'll tell you how much government has set aside for the fire brigade and the NSWMA. Stay with us. The details are coming up right after the news.
Persons with chronic respiratory illnesses such as asthma or recent respiratory infections should not participate in outdoor activities in areas affected by smoke and other emissions. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, March 16. There has been a vast improvement at the Riverton City disposal site where the authorities have been fighting to contain a fire since last Wednesday, March 11. That update came after the Jamaica Defence Force facilitated an aerial assessment of the site Monday morning. Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Errol Mower, tells GIS News that the flyover revealed vast improvement over the first aerial assessment on Saturday.
When we did the flyover on Saturday, almost all of the dump was on fire. When we did the flyover yesterday, we were unable to see anything because there was a thick smoke cover on the ground, so we could not see anything. But what we've seen this morning is a vast improvement. It therefore showed that the team, fire brigade and the other entities that have responded have been doing a good job.
Up to Monday morning, the authorities had covered up to 60% of the site and had fully extinguished the fire at the one tire disposal area that was affected. Mr. Mowat, meanwhile, says the JFB has pulled firefighters and resources from other parts of the country, and he expects the fire to be fully contained within a few days.
Obviously, the smoke cover will continue to be with us for a while after the extinction of the fire. That is usually the case. But as I said, we have made steady progress, significant progress.
In the meantime, the National Solid Waste Management Authority is assuring the public that Riverton remains open for garbage disposal. The authority's Executive Director, Jennifer Edwards, gave that assurance as she led her team's operation at the Riverton landfill Monday morning. She explained that the NSWMA had bought material from a quarry in St. Catherine Monday morning to continue covering the fire and was also using water pumped from the Doheny River in those efforts.
We're using both water and dirt as material in the smothering process. The water is to allow for the compaction and the cooling down, while the dirt is to ensure that we are completely smothered and cut off the oxygen from the waste.
They expect to cover another 30 acres by the end of the day. As it regards preventing unauthorized persons from accessing the landfill now and at other times, Ms. Edwards said this was challenging due to its location and demand for materials stored there.
Because the Riverton disposal site sits in a community which is an informal community and in which there is a registered and thriving trade for various items that are usually disposed of at the disposal site. So for instance, the scrap metal, the plastic, the paper.
She said the size and layout of the landfill also made security challenging. Going forward, she said the best solution was to completely cover the waste at the landfill, a process that has already begun. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has provided additional resources to its main hospitals in Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Catherine to treat persons who have been affected by the smog. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Marion Bullock-DeCass says additional supplies and equipment have been provided to the Spanish Town and Kingston public hospitals, as well as the University Hospital of the West Indies and Bustamante Hospital for Children.
Additional supplies and equipment have also been provided by the Ministry of Health to its main hospitals. This includes nebulizers, humidifiers, and pharmaceuticals to deal with persons with respiratory symptoms.
The casualty department of the National Chest Hospital is now operating on a 24-hour basis to allow easy access to persons who need health care. Dr. Ducasse has reported that 642 persons were treated at healthcare facilities between Friday and midday Sunday, 4 of whom were admitted.
I must point out that no deaths have been reported or recorded in any health facility associated with this event.
The ministry, in collaboration with the National Environment and Planning Agency, has been conducting air quality testing since the start of the fire. Testing for particulate matter is being conducted by the Bureau of Standards, and a Canadian company is testing for other chemicals such as volatile organic compound. Those results should be forthcoming by Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And the authorities say they have extinguished a fire that broke out at the retirement disposal site in St. James Sunday. Superintendent at the St. James Fire Department, Dolphin Doman, says they got a call at 9:11 Sunday night and one unit with 7 firefighters responded. The fire reportedly occurred at a section which is about the size of a lawn tennis court located at the back of the landfill. Superintendent Doman says the fire was quickly put out and heavy-duty equipment on site was used to complete smoldering operations. NSWMA's Regional Operations Manager Effort Daly says normal operations have since been restored. And finally, this year's Grade 6 Achievement Test GSAT, originally scheduled for Thursday and Friday, has been postponed. Cabinet made that decision Monday morning after the latest briefing on the fire at the Riverton City disposal site. The GSAT has been put off to next week, Thursday and Friday, March 26 and 27. More than 11,000 students have been affected by the smog and school closures, and Cabinet took the unanimous decision to postpone the test after considering all the factors. In the meantime, schools that were directed to send home their students on Friday remained closed Monday morning as the Education Ministry sought to limit their exposure to smog from the disposal site. The closure was also to facilitate the cleanup of some schools and to determine their readiness for resumption. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thank you for watching.
Operating out of Jamaica House, Ministers Faulkner and Nita Headley, led by Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller, kept their fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the country. From providing information on the Riverton City landfill fire to wooing investors at the Jamaica Investment Forum, the OPM team has been very busy. Here are the highlights.
This is Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Stacey Ann Smith. Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller chaired a special meeting of stakeholder agencies on Sunday, where she was updated on activities to contain the fire at the Riverton City disposal site in St. Andrew. Mrs. Simpson-Miller said she was concerned about the effects of the smoke on business operators, as well as those living in Kingston, St. Andrews and Catherine and its environs. While commending the agencies for their work so far, she urged them to do all they could to fully extinguish the flames.
Opportunities are plenty. Investor confidence is high. Now is the time to invest in Jamaica. We are open for business on a global scale.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller officially opened the Jamaica Investment Forum, JIF, last week at the Montego Bay Convention Center. The forum, which ran from March 10 to 12, focused on key business opportunities in the manufacturing, agribusiness, logistics, medical tourism, international financial services, and business process outsourcing sectors.
The Jamaica Investment Forum 2015 is about maintaining the momentum and building on the progress we are making in attracting world-class investments to our highly diversified economy. Our goal is to facilitate win-win investments that will bring you a good rate of return and also create the jobs we desire for our people.
The Prime Minister also assured the business community that the government would continue to improve the commercial environment to make it easier for them to do business. She also participated in a series of business meetings with prospective investors who attended the forum. Information Minister Senator Sandria Faulkner has pledged Jamaica's commitment to a transformative post-2015 agenda in an address to the international community last Monday. She was delivering Jamaica's country statement to the 59th meeting of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women in New York. Senator Faulkner added that the global community must create a framework that conquers the scourges of poverty, marginalization, gender-based violence, discrimination and social exclusion, issues that affect so many women and girls. The Information Minister also used the forum to highlight Jamaica's advances in preventing mother-to-child transmission of HIV, general population health, and women's increasing access to economic opportunities. The Prime Minister has reiterated that the upcoming Integrity Commission bill will strengthen Jamaica's fight against corruption. In a message delivered by Attorney General Patrick Atkinson, the Prime Minister said the Integrity Commission bill, which was now before a joint select committee of Parliament, seeks to promote and enhance standards of ethical conduct by public officials.
It does so by consolidating laws relating to the prevention of corruption and the award, monitoring and investigating of government contracts and prescribed licenses.
Mr. Atkinson represented the Prime Minister last week at the inaugural Fraud and Anti-Corruption Conference hosted by the Office of the Contractor General. And the Prime Minister also participated in a ceremony to hand over an extensive personal collection of former Prime Minister Edward Seaga to the University of the West Indies Library. The collection, which spanned 5 decades of Jamaica's development, is now available to researchers and the public. It includes artifacts, correspondence, articles, books, and other significant publications related to his work and the development of the Jamaican society from 1959 to 2005. The collection will become part of the Mona Campus Caribbean Leaders Collection. And the Prime Minister and the Minister with responsibility for sport, Natalie Nita Headley, have congratulated Dave Cameron on his re-election to a second term as President of the West Indies Cricket Board, WICB. In a joint statement, they said the WICB now needs greater solidarity, commitment and unity to ensure better days ahead for the sport in the region and to rebuild West Indies cricket to its once lofty world-class status. Meanwhile, the Minister with responsibility for sport also supported organisers and participants in the G.C. Foster Classic held on the weekend at the National Stadium. And on a somber note, the Prime Minister paid last respects to the late Courtney Lloyd Fletcher at his funeral last week at the Saxthorpe Methodist Church. Mr. Fletcher, who passed away at age 90, served as President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society from 1974 to 1993. And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next week for the latest from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Smoke from the fire at the Riverton City disposal site has been affecting several communities. Health officials have provided some useful information on how to reduce the risks. Here now is the country's acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Marion Bullock-Decas, speaking at a press conference yesterday.
We ask persons, especially those with respiratory conditions that are pre-existing, such as asthma, to avoid the area as much as possible. Those who are unable to do so should remain indoors as much as possible, and in a part of their residence that is least affected, they should keep the windows and doors closed, as well as cover their nose and mouth with a damp rag or cloth. For those who have their underlying respiratory conditions, we do ask that at the first sign of any symptoms, such as shortness of breath or any difficulty in breathing, that they take their medications as prescribed by their doctors and visit their doctors and do not delay. Since being advised of the fire, the Ministry of Health has activated its National Emergency Operations Center to direct, coordinate, and control all activities for the health sector. Monitoring continues of the persons who are affected by the fire and the smoke, and additional measures have been put in place. Additional supplies and equipment have also been provided by the Ministry of Health to its main hospitals. This includes nebulizers, humidifiers, and pharmaceuticals to deal with persons with respiratory symptoms. And the main facilities that the supplies and equipment were deployed to are the Kingston Public Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, Bustamante Hospital for Children, and the University Hospital of the West Indies. On the 13th of March, that's a Friday, our health facilities saw 345 persons who were experiencing respiratory conditions resulting based on their complaints from the smoke from the fire. On the 14th of March, 233 visits were made to our facilities, including the 5 additional health centers that were open. And there were 4 admissions, 2 at the National Chest Hospital and 2 at the Kingston Public Hospital. The National Chest Hospital's casualty department, which is normally open just during the daytime, was operational from Saturday morning and continues to work on a 24-hour basis to see emergencies. Today, up to midday at our health facilities, including the 2 health centers, the teams have already seen 64 persons suffering from respiratory conditions, and this totals 642 visits. I must point out that no deaths have been reported or recorded in any health facility associated with this event.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. I am Nadine Newsom. Today we explore issues related to investments, and joining me is Sonia Nicholson, Senior Director of Securities with the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Sonia.
Thank you, Nadine.
Sonia, what is a client statement?
Nadine, a client statement is essentially a report from an entity detailing the client's investment with that entity. It can be regarded as a statement of account.
And what is required on a client statement?
A client statement, by law, is required to detail the type of investment the client has with that entity, the debit or the credit balance that may be on the client statement, and also a statement indicating whether the funds are held for safekeeping or in segregation.
How often should investors receive client statements from their securities dealers?
Once there's a credit or a debit balance or securities held on behalf of clients, the securities dealer should send statements to the client at the end of each month once there's a transaction during the month. If there's no activity, then the client statement should be sent once every 3 months at the very least.
Thank you, Sonia. My guest today was Sonia Nicholson, Senior Director of Securities at the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
In the 2015-2016 budget, government has set aside more than $5 billion to buy equipment, maintain fire hydrants, and get some other important work done for the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Listen now for details of that allocation and others for the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development.
Efficiency in the operations of local authorities was enhanced last year.
And that work will continue in fiscal year 2015-2016. With the assistance of its multilateral and bilateral partners, government has budgeted approximately $10 billion to make it happen. Beyond taking care of its administrative costs, the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development's recurrent budget in 2015-2016 will finance some important projects. They include $40.7 million to continue local government reform. As part of its allocation, the National Solid Waste Management Authority will complete works on the transfer station being established in Westmoreland. Among other things, ODPEM is setting aside $10 million to buy food supplies to be stored for victims in the event of natural disasters. $50 million goes to the National Disaster Fund to be used for the coordination of relief activities in the event of a natural disaster or other emergency situations. The Jamaica Fire Brigade is getting money to maintain and rehabilitate fire hydrants island-wide, repair fire vehicles, buy critical equipment, and facilitate repairs and maintenance of fire stations. $362.97 million is also budgeted to buy fire and other emergency vehicles. Meanwhile, $50.5 million is being committed for poor relief services and the protection and care of the homeless. And in addition to budgetary support from the ministry, the parish councils are projected to earn $9.7 billion from property tax payments and motor vehicle license fees to finance their operations. Jamaica's multilateral and bilateral partners are also contributing to the work of the local government and community development ministry in 2015-2016 through the funding of 3 major projects. The International Bank for Reconstruction and Development is providing $127.9 billion to continue the community-based landslide risk reduction program. The main goal is to reduce the risk of natural disasters in vulnerable Jamaican communities and provide an evidence-based toolkit for vulnerability reduction throughout the Caribbean. The Inter-American Development Bank, meanwhile, is allocating $15 billion to address the main environmental, urban, and fiscal issues affecting the long-term sustainability of Montego Bay. And the government of Mexico is committing $30 million to continue work started last year to repair the access road to the Riverton City landfill using concrete.
The ministry has been unwavering in its commitment in ensuring that resources, with very limited resources, we maximize the impact we have on households and communities.
The resources have been allocated to continue this mission in the new fiscal year. Now it's on to the work.
I had a plan for my life. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be the first in my family to do great things. Then a friend of mine sold me into prostitution. You mash up my life.
Stop human trafficking. It destroys lives. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise. Open your eyes. Spot them. Stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Last week, Parliament began debating government's budget for the next fiscal year. One of the allocations being reviewed is the amount budgeted to maintain and upgrade the country's water supply system over the April 2015 to March 2016 period. Until then, government continues to deliver on its 2014-2015 plan of work. Up next, we go all across the island, witnessing many Jamaicans getting water for the first time, witnessing government putting its budget into action.
As we work to improve the delivery of drinking water across Jamaica, we will be even closer to achieving what we call our Vision 2030 goal.
In the 2014-2015 fiscal year, that work has brought potable water to thousands of Jamaicans in communities right across the island.
The rainwater harvesting system is a welcome investment and is expected to alleviate the water challenges that you have experienced in the past.
That was in June 2014 when Minister Pickersgill commissioned the $27 million Gibraltar rainwater harvesting system into service. The project provided more than 700 residents in Gibraltar and other areas in St. Catherine with a source of potable water for domestic, agricultural and commercial activities.
I'm confident that this project will add to the productivity of your communities. This in turn will help to increase employment opportunities and development within your communities.
The new water system, we appreciate it very much, and it done a lot to us because plenty of us wasn't getting the water rightly, and now that we are getting it good now, so we are very thankful for it.
Alma is just one of more than 3,000 residents benefiting from the upgraded Burnt Savannah Knoxwood water supply system. It was commissioned into service in October 2014 after $59.6 million in upgrading works. The Port C rainwater catchment tank in St. Elizabeth was also refurbished in late 2014. Extensive repairs were done to the concrete catchment area, the fencing and wall footing, while 800 meters of pipes were laid and a concrete covering built for the tank.
Everywhere I go in this country, no matter whether the parish is traditionally dry or experiences above average rainfall, I tell residents that we must return to rainwater harvesting as one method of ensuring our water security in the face of increasing and intensifying droughts, which are one of the impacts of climate change. I welcome the rehabilitation of this rainwater harvesting tank in Port C as an important addition to the climate change adaptation initiatives that are being pursued elsewhere in the island.
At least 1,500 residents in southern St. Elizabeth now have greater access to potable water due to the upgrading of the Port C tank, which has the capacity to store 270,000 gallons of water. Others are benefiting from the similarly upgraded Rose Hall rainwater catchment tank in the parish. Over in Westmoreland, more than 5,000 residents are now receiving regular water supply after the commissioning of the Barneyside tank. The 40-odd-year-old storage tank was refurbished at a cost of $4.3 million to store 150,000 gallons of water. In February 2015, meanwhile, improved service came for residents served by the Martha Bray treatment plant in Trelawney after it was rehabilitated and a supporting facility constructed. It can provide a total of 11 million gallons of water per day. Almost 200,000 residents are benefiting.
While the NWC is not the only water provider, it is estimated that it now provides water to more than 70% of the population of Trelawney. This is indeed a significant improvement over the previous decade.
Significant improvement also came for Ewerton and Mount Rossa residents in St. Catherine after the rehabilitation of the Mount Rossa distribution pipeline and repairs to the Mount Rossa and Ewerton reservoirs.
The project also undertook the installation of 1,500 meters, including the infrastructure to enable legal connections for persons who were previously obtaining water illegally.
Over 6,000 residents are now able to get potable water as a result of the $460 million project. And in March, the last month of the fiscal year, the Clarkstown Water Supply Pipeline Replacement Project was officially commissioned into service. Other work was done in the 2014-2015 fiscal year to bring water to Jamaicans. These included the $1.83 billion Port Antonio Water Sewerage and Drainage Project. While touring in January 2015, the Water Minister said residents and businesses should soon be able to enjoy the full benefits of that project.
Work on the project has been substantially completed. 18 kilometers or 100% of the pipelines have been laid and commissioned into service.
Meanwhile, in 2014, the NWC signed a $1 billion contract to build the artificial groundwater recharge system for the Rio Cobre hydrological basin in the Innswood area of St. Catherine. The work includes building a raw water treatment facility with the capacity to treat 8 million gallons of water per day, generally increasing groundwater quantity and quality.
This aquifer recharge project is absolutely vital to the water security of St. Catherine and to the Kingston metropolitan area.
And work continued on the $12.6 million Lucy pipeline replacement and non-revenue water reduction project. It will facilitate improved water flow from the Great River Treatment Plant to all the areas along the corridor leading into Negril. When the 2015-2016 estimates of expenditure was tabled in Parliament on February 19, it revealed an allocation of approximately $835.74 million to maintain and upgrade Jamaica's water supply system. That means more scenes like those played out in fiscal year 2014-2015. It means even more will be done to upgrade the access to potable water for all Jamaicans.
We're all out of time, but not to worry. Jamaica Magazine returns tomorrow. Till then, rewatch this show and others on our website, jis.gov.jm. You may also check out our features on YouTube. And if you've got something to say, don't be shy. Our email is jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. We're also available on all major social media platforms. We even have a mobile app. Download JIS Mobile from the Google Play Store. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Andrea Chisholm, urging you as you go about your business to look out for our children. See you next time.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.